21. Asittanipata. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis. Book 21. Asittanipata. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis. 533. Jakarta number 533. Cullahamsa-jataka. All other birds, etc. This was a story told by the master, while living in the bamboo grove, as to how the venerable Ananda renounced his life. For when archers were bribed to kill the Tathagata, and the first one that was sent by Devadatta on this job returned and said, "Holy Sir, I cannot deprive the Lord Buddha of life. He is possessed of great supernatural powers," Devadatta replied, "Well, sir, you need not kill the ascetic Gautam. I myself will deprive him of life." And as the Tathagata was walking in the shadow cast westward by the vulture's peak, Devadatta climbed to the top of the mountain and hurled a mighty stone as if shot from a catapult, thinking, "With this stone will I kill the ascetic Gautam." But two mountain peaks meeting together intercepted the stone, and a splinter from it flew up and struck the Lord Buddha on the foot and blood oozed, and severe pains set in. Jivaka, cutting open the Tathagata's foot with a knife, let out the bad blood and removed the proud flesh, and smearing the wound with a medicinal elixir healed it. The master moved about just as he was accustomed before, surrounded by his attendants, with all the great charm of a Buddha. So on seeing him Devadatta thought, "Truly no mortal seeing the excellent beauty of Gautam's person dare approach him." But the king's elephant Nalagiri is a fierce and savage animal and knows nothing of the virtues of the Buddha, the righteous path, and the assembly. He will bring about the destruction of the ascetic. So he went and told the matter to the king. The king readily fell in with the suggestion, and, summoning his elephant keeper, thus addressed him. "Sir, tomorrow you are to make Nalagiri mad with drink, and at break of day to let him loose in the street where the ascetic Gautam walks." And Devadatta asked the keeper how much arak the elephant was accustomed to drink on ordinary days. And when he answered, 8 pots, he said, "Tomorrow give him 16 pots to drink, and send him in the direction of the street frequented by the ascetic Gautam." "Very good," said the keeper. The king had a drum beaten throughout the city and proclaimed, "Tomorrow Nalagiri will be maddened with strong drink and let loose in the city. The men of the city are to do all that they have to do in the early morning, and after that no one is to venture out into the street." And Devadatta came down from the palace and went to the elephant stall and, addressing the keepers, said, "We are able, I tell you, from a high position to degrade a man to a lowly one and to raise a man from a low position to a high one. If you are eager for honor, early tomorrow morning give Nalagiri 16 pots of fiery liquor. And at the time when the ascetic Gautam comes that way, wound the elephant with spiked lashes. And when in his fury he has broken down his stall, drive him in the direction of the street where Gautam is accustomed to walk, and so bring about the destruction of the ascetic." They readily agreed to do so. This rumor was noised abroad throughout the whole city. The lay disciples attached to the Buddha, the righteous path, and the monkhood, on hearing it, came near to the master and said, "Holy Sir, Devadatta has been close with the king, and tomorrow he will have Nalagiri let loose in the street where you walk. Do not go into the city tomorrow for alms but remain here. We will provide food in the monastery for the monks, with Buddha at their head." The master, without directly saying, "I will not enter the city tomorrow for alms," answered and said, "Tomorrow I will work a miracle and tame Nalagiri and crush the wrong believers. And without going my round for alms in Rajgraha city I will leave the city, attended by a company of the brethren, and go straight to the bamboo grove, and the people of Rajgraha city shall go there with many a bowl of food, and tomorrow there shall be a meal provided in the room for meals of the monastery." In this way did the master grant their request. And on learning that the Tathagata had agreed to their wishes, they set out from the city, carrying bowls of food, and saying, "We will distribute our gifts in the monastery itself." And the master in the first watch taught the righteous path. In the middle watch he solved hard questions. In the first part of the last watch he lay down lion-like on his right side. And the second part he spent in the attainment of fruition. In the third part, entering into a trance, a deep pity for the sufferings of humanity. He with divine insight surveyed from afar all the humanity, searching for those new disciples, that were ripe for the path, leading to freedom from suffering, from worldly rebirths, i.e. for nirvana, for eternal life, salvation, and seeing that as the result of his conquest of Nalagiri elephant 84,000 beings would be brought to a clear understanding of the righteous path. At daybreak, after attending to his bodily necessities, he addressed Ananda and said, "Ananda, today ask all the brethren that are in the 18 monasteries that are round about Rajgraha city to accompany me into that city." The elder monk did so, and all the brethren assembled at the bamboo grove. The master, attended by a great company of brethren, entered Rajgraha city, and the elephant keepers proceeded according to their instructions, and there was a great gathering of people. The believers thought, "Today there will be a mighty battle between the Lord Elephant Buddha and this elephant of the brute world. We shall see the defeat of Nalagiri by the incomparable skill of the Buddha," and they climbed up and stood upon the upper stories and roofs and housetops. But the unbelieving wrong believers thought, "Nalagiri is a fierce, savage creature, and knows nothing of the merits of Buddhas and the like. Today he will crush the glorious form of the ascetic Gautam and bring about his death. Today we shall look upon the back of our enemy." And they took their stand on upper stories and other high places. And the elephant, on seeing the Lord Buddha approach him, terrified the people by demolishing the houses, and raising his trunk he crushed the wagons into powder. And, with his ears and tail erect with excitement, he ran like some towering mountain in the direction of the Lord Buddha. On seeing him the brethren thus addressed the Lord Buddha, "This Nalagiri, holy sir, a fierce and savage creature, and a killer of men, is coming along this road. Of a truth he knows nothing of the merit of Buddhas and the like. Let the Lord Buddha, the auspicious one, withdraw. Fear not, brethren," he said, "I am able to overcome Nalagiri." Then the venerable Sariputra prayed the master, saying, "Holy sir, when any service has to be rendered to a father, it is a burden laid on his eldest son. I will subdue this creature." Then the master said, "Sariputra, the power of a Buddha is one thing, that of his disciples is another," and he rejected his offer, saying, "You are to remain here." This too was the prayer of the 80 chief elders for the most part, but he refused them all. Then the venerable Ananda, by reason of his strong affection for the master, was unable to agree in this and cried, "Let this elephant kill me first," and he stood before the master, ready to sacrifice his life for the Tathagata. So the master said to him, "Go away, Ananda, do not stand in front of me." The elder monk said, "Holy sir, this elephant is fierce and savage, a killer of men, like the flame at the beginning of a cycle. Let him first kill me, and afterwards let him approach you." And though he was spoken to for the third time, the elder monk remained in the same spot and did not retire. Then the Lord Buddha, by the exercise of his supernatural power, made him fall back and placed him in the midst of the brethren. At this moment a certain woman, catching sight of Nalagiri, was terrified with the fear of death, and as she fled she dropped the child, which she was carrying on her hip, between the Tathagata and the elephant and made her escape. The elephant, pursuing the woman, came up with the child, who uttered a loud cry. The master, thrilling with the charity that is expressly commanded, and, uttering the honeyed accents of a voice like that of Brahma, called to Nalagiri, saying, "Ho! Nalagiri, those that maddened you with 16 pots of arak did not do this that you might attack someone else, but acted thus thinking you would attack me. Do not tire out your strength by rushing about aimlessly, but come here." On hearing the voice of the master, he opened his eyes and saw the glorious form of the Lord Buddha. And he became greatly agitated, and by the power of Buddha the intoxicating effects of the strong drink passed off. Dropping his trunk and shaking his ears, he came and fell down at the feet of the Tathagata. Then the master, addressing him, said, "Nalagiri, you are a brute elephant, I am the Buddha elephant. From now on be not fierce and savage, nor a killer of men, but cultivate thoughts of charity." So saying, he stretched on his right hand and coaxed the elephant's forehead and taught the righteous path to him in these words: "This elephant should you presume to assail, an awful doom you would soon bewail. To strike this elephant would destine you to state of suffering in worlds to be. From mad and foolish recklessness abstain. The reckless fool to heaven will never attain. If in the next world you would win heaven's bliss, see that you doest what is right in this." The whole body of the elephant constantly thrilled with joy, and had he not been a mere quadruped, he would have entered on the fruition of the first path. The people, on seeing this miracle, shouted and snapped their fingers. In their joy they threw upon him all manner of ornaments and covered after that all the body of the elephant. From then on Nalagiri was known as Dharmapalika. Now on the occasion of this encounter with Dharmapalika, 84,000 beings drank the nectar of immortality. And the master established Dharmapalika in the 5 moral laws. With his trunk taking up dust from the feet of the Lord Buddha, the elephant sprinkled it on his head. And retiring with bent body, he stood bowing to the Dasabala as long as he was in sight, and then he turned and entered the elephant's stall. From then on he was quite tame and harmed no man. The master, now that his desire was fulfilled, decided that the treasure should remain the property of those by whom it had been thrown upon the elephant, and thinking, "Today I have brought a great miracle. It is not seemly that I should go my rounds for alms in this city." And after subduing the wrong believers, surrounded by a band of the brethren, he swiftly moved on from the city like a victorious warrior chief and made straight for the bamboo grove. The citizens, taking with them a quantity of boiled rice, drink, and some solid food, went to the monastery and set on foot almsgiving on a grand scale. That day at evening, as they sat filling the hall of truth, the brethren started a topic, saying, "The Venerable Ananda achieved a marvelous thing in being ready to sacrifice his life for the sake of the Tathagata." On seeing Nalagiri, though he was thrice forbidden by the master to remain, he refused to go away. "O sirs, of a truth the elder monk was the doer of a marvelous deed." The master, thinking, "The conversation turns on the merits of Ananda. I must be present at it," went on from his perfumed chamber and came and asked them, saying, "On what subject are you discussing, brethren, as you sit here?" And when they answered, "On such and such a topic," he said, "Not now only, but formerly too, Ananda, even when he was born in an animal form, renounced his life for my sake," and so saying he told a story of the past. Once upon a time in the kingdom of Mahimsaka in the city of Sakula, a king named Sakula ruled his kingdom righteously. At that time, not far from the city, a certain hunter in a village of hunters got his living by snaring birds and selling them in the city. Near that city was a lotus lake called Manusia, 12 leagues in circumference, covered with 5 varieties of lotus. There went a flock of all manner of birds, and the hunter set his snares there freely. At this time the king of the Dhartaratha geese, with a following of 96,000 geese, lived in Golden Cave on Mount Chitrakuta, and his commander-in-chief was named Sumukha. Now one day a flock composed of some golden geese came to the lake Manusya. And, after browsing to their heart's content in this abundant feeding ground, they flew up to the beautiful Chitrakuta and thus addressed the Dhartaratha king. Sire, there is a lotus lake called Manusya, a rich feeding ground lying midst the habitations of men. There we will go to feed. He answered, the habitations of men are dangerous. Let not this approve itself to you. And though he declined to go, yet being begged he said, if it be your will, we will go, and with his following he went to that lake. Descending from the air he set his foot in a noose at the very moment he touched the ground. So the noose seized his foot as it were with an iron vice and caught and held him fast. Then thinking to sever the snare he tugged at it. And first the skin was broken, next the flesh was torn, and lastly the tendon, till the snare touched the bone and the blood flowed and severe pains set in. He thought, if I should utter a cry of capture, my family would be alarmed and without feeding would fly away famished, and through weakness they would fall into the water. So he endured with the pain, and when his family had eaten their fill and were enjoying themselves after the manner of geese, he uttered the loud cry of a captured bird. On hearing it these geese were frightened with the fear of death and flew off in the direction of Chitrakuta. As soon as they were gone, Sumukha, the captain of the geese, thought, can it be that this means something terrible has happened to the great king? I will find out what it is. And flying at full speed, and not seeing the great being amongst those in the van of the retreating army of geese, he searched for him in the large body of the birds, and there too failing to find him he said, without all doubt something terrible has occurred. And he turned back and found the great being caught in a snare, stained with blood and suffering great pain, lying on the muddy ground. And he descended and sat on the ground, and trying to comfort the great being he said, fear not, sire. I will release you from the snare at the sacrifice of my own life. Then to test him the great being spoke the first stanza. All other birds, regardless of me, have fled in haste away. What friendship can a captive know? Be off, make no delay. Here moreover followed these stanzas. Whether I go or stay with you, I still some day must die. I've courted you in welfare, in suffering from you I may not fly. I either then must die with you, or live a life sad. Far better it was to die at once than live your loss to mourn. It is not right to leave you, sire, in such a sorry state. No, I am well content to share whatever may be your fate. What fate for one caught in a snare except the cruel skewer? How in your senses and still free could you to this submit? What good for you or me, O bird, in this do you discern? Or for the family surviving us, if both of us should die? Rapt, golden-winged one, in night will be your deed of worth. What moral would such sacrifice, if brought to light, show on? That blessings follow right, O king of birds, do you not see? Right duly honored shows to men what their true good may be. Seeing the right and all the good that still from right may spring. For love of you I cheerfully my life away would throw. If mindful of the right one never forsakes a suffering friend. Not even to save one's life, such act as right the wise commend. Your duty nobly done, the while I recognize your love. Depart at once, if you would do the thing I most approve. Perhaps in time the ties that bound my family beneath my sway, with fuller knowledge and control may pass to you some day. As thus these noble birds exchanged high thoughts, to them, see. Like death to some bedridden wretch appeared this hunter bold. The friends in him discerning well the enemy they fear. Long silent sat and motionless, as he to them came near. Seeing the geese rise here and there and vanish into space. Their enemy, where sat these noble birds, in haste approached the place. And as he ran with utmost speed and reached the fated spot, the hunter, trembling at the thought, cried, "Are they caught or not?" The one he saw caught in the snare, the other bird he found. Watching his captive friend, himself unchained and unbound. Perplexed and doubting in his mind he viewed the noble pair, full grown were they, two attractive birds, and thus he spoke 'em fair. Granted that one caught in a snare may never fly away. Why, mighty bird, do you, still free, resolve with him to stay? What is this bird to you, that when the rest are fled and gone, though free, beside the captive bird you sittest here alone? Zero enemy of birds, my friend and king, dear as my life is he. Forsake him, no, I never will, until death calls for me. How was it that this bird never noticed the hunter's secret snare? Of mighty chiefs the function is of danger to beware. When ruin comes upon a man and death's hour comes near, though you may close upon it come, nor trap nor snare you spy. Snares of all kinds, O holy ones, are often set in vain.